Alright, I'm back again, and this time we're working on a strawberry pot. My wife wanted me to put a big pipe in the center of it so she could put water in it to make it easy to water the strawberries. So, let's get into it. So here's our pot. Nice and big, plenty of strawberries in it. And we want to put something in the very center of that that's going to hold some water. And this is going to go in the center. And this is going to hold all of our water. So let's cut it down and get it to the right length. So it's going to have an end on it, which is too small. 3-inch pipe. What did I get? 4-inch pipe? I must have got a 4-inch pipe. How about that? I'm going to have to do some creative work to make this fit. Let's start by cutting this to the right length. Do you want the pipe to stick above it?
This is my high-tech decision-making process.
I figure if you have any strawberries are low to the ground.
My better half is off in the distance.
You're going to put the dirt to the very top of this probably? We can always make it shorter, but that wind's blowing pretty good. I'm going to have a bunch of whoosh.
And birds. Caw-caw!
We can always make it shorter if we need to.
I've got my safety glasses and a grinder with a 4-inch cutoff wheel.
There we go. Let's drill some holes for the water to come out.
So my wife tells me you're supposed to water the soil on a lot of vegetables instead of the plant itself. I guess the water on the plant causes mold and mildew to grow. But the idea would be for this white pipe to stick up out of the center of this pot and have holes that go all the way down. And then you could just go up to it with a hose or a watering can and fill up the pipe with water, and the soil will get wet, but the plants won't get any water on them. So that way you don't have to worry about the fungi or algae or mold growing on the plant itself. So I'm using a 1/4-inch drill bit, and starting from the bottom of the pipe going up every 4 inches, I'm going to drill 6 holes around the pipe.
So I figure we have like some on this level and some on this level, kind of. You know what I mean?
I'm receiving high-level instructions on how this is to be put together.
And that's why the holes were for that, was so they could really disperse to the plants that were sticking out.
I'm not sure where we're at, but it just got more complex. So, I'm not saying we make this up as we go, but we make this up as we go sometimes. So I divided the top like a pie. And now I'm using my marks to look at the side and go down. And just put a mark. Because apparently I'm going to be cutting holes in this. And I want them to be relatively spaced. I don't know if the plant does grow like we hope. It's not going to make much difference because you're not going to be able to measure how far the holes are apart from each other. Because hopefully there's going to be a nice bushy plant there. I don't know if it shows up on camera, but I've got 2 slots there. So I know if I go in between that, that's how I'm going to make my pies. 2 spots. And then I'm going to go get my tape measure, and I'm going to at least measure from the bottom up. So I make sure I get these spaced appropriately. There's my 2 holes, so there's my pie mark. If I start here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Should be 16 because there's 8 and 8, right? So we're using this as a guide. But we're trying to decide if having a perfect circle and this beveled out supports the plant as it grows and hangs down, because that plastic's fairly sharp. Or if this is the potter being decorative and making something pretty as he works. Contemplation. I'm going to measure out, and I'm going to go a little over 9.5 and put a mark. And there's my mark right there.
So after we thought about it for a while, we decided that dividing it into 8s and having 16 holes on the side was just too much. So we're going to divide it into 6, and we're going to have 12 holes on the side, and that'll give us 12 plants on the side. So if we're going to divide it into 6, 9.5 inches for this pot is the way to go.
So I got 6 marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I say we go up 12 inches. Let's go 12 inches.
So don't pay attention to the eye on the side of the pot. That was just me trying to work through some things about what the hole should look like.
I'm just gonna put a plunge cut right there.
So what I finally decided to do was to make 6 5-inch slits around the pot. Now I'm measuring from the bottom of the pot up 12 inches so I know where to put my cuts. So now I'm going to mark it so I know my slits will be 5 inches wide. So this pot's going to have 12 openings on its side for strawberries, and I've already put a slot for the first opening. I will do all 11 slots the same way, just like this one.
We're doing most of this by looks, so there to there, halfway between there to there.
I'm trying to decide the center line for the lower 6 slits that I'm going to have to cut. Unfortunately, there's already marks on the pot from when we were going to have 16 openings for 16 plants. So I will go up from the bottom 7 inches and put a mark. And that will tell me where to cut a slit so I can make my openings for the bottom row of plants. And now we will measure out 5 inches and make a mark so we know exactly where to cut. And just like the top 6, we'll get the bottom 6 cut the same way. So the next thing to do would be to apply heat to this pot and shape the plastic to make an opening for the strawberry plants. I'm using a hairdryer, and I have used hair dryers in the past when trying to work with PVC pipe, but it's just not going to cut it. I don't own a heat gun, so I'm going to have to stop for the moment and purchase a heat gun and see if that works. I'm going to go ahead and glue the PVC end cap into the bottom of this pipe. I know it's awful loose as far as the fitting goes, but since it's not under any kind of water pressure, it should do just fine. The glue's mainly there just to hold it in place.
So yesterday we left off with all the holes this and a cap on it. And we had put slots all in this. Now the next thing to do would be to heat it up and bend the plastic.
So I had the heat gun on the inside of this plastic cup for a few minutes, and then I went to the outside, and you can see that the color of the plastic changes pretty quick when it gets hot. And then I'm going to try to shove this bottle through, which does not go well. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Yeah, it gets it hot, all right. I thought that was pretty funny, if nothing else. And on hindsight, watching this, maybe I should have been wearing gloves. So I'm going to do this one in real time. Now, I have never used a heat gun before, believe it or not, so I'm used to using a hair dryer. And this thing is tenfold better than a hair dryer at getting stuff hot. And since I've never used a heat gun before, and since I've never melted plastic to make a strawberry pot, there was a little bit of learning involved. And I would have to say by my last hole, it was much better than my first hole. This particular heat gun has 2 settings, one for 750 degrees and one for 1100 degrees. And it made quick work of heating up this plastic in the lower setting. Already I'm getting better because I'm not burning my fingers trying to get this bottle through. And my holes are starting to look better too. After I did a couple of these, I could tell just by the way the plastic went from a dull color to a shiny color that it was hot enough to be bent into shape. I also found that if I used a metal water bottle, that it worked a lot better than a plastic one, because the plastic one kept collapsing in on itself. And then after a few minutes, I removed that metal bottle.
Not my best work, not my worst. So I'm going to get my grinder out and I'm going to just make these look a little prettier. But I'm happy with it. We'll have to see how it works. But let me go get that grinder. Some of them turned out really nice and some of them didn't.
So all I'm really trying to do is just smooth out the openings and make them a little bit more regular. They didn't melt all the same way. And I don't want any jagged edges hurting our strawberry plants once they start growing. So the heat gun really did do a good job of melting this plastic, and I was able to bend it into a good shape using a water bottle full of ice. I don't know if I mentioned that when I was giving the review. I started out with a plastic water bottle, but it wasn't strong enough to support the hole. So I ended up getting a metal one, and I filled that one up full of ice. So that way when I put that bottle in the hot hole, the plastic would cool down and retain the shape.
You want to come take a peek and tell me what you think?
I might be making this, but it's my wife's pot, so I need her input.
I mean, once it's got plants in it and all that, I'm sure it would look a lot different, but I'm not sure what I think of it.
So we decided some of the openings were still just a little bit too rough for the plants. I got my Dremel tool out and put on one of the sanding wheels to smooth it out.
Well, there you have it. I'm going to put this on the ground and put some dirt in it and put the sleeve for watering in it. And then we'll see what happens from there. So there we go. There's our pots. That's a little store-bought pot. And there's our fancy dancy big strawberry pot. It's like its own crop.
We're going to put 2 holes in this pot, one on each side. So that way if we get a lot of rain, water can drain out.
Well, this wraps up another one. Like, subscribe, check out those playlists, and I'll see you in the next one.